Assalamu alaikum. Let me just give it a minute. Just want to have a quick dialogue here. That's why I'm using my phone. I don't want to stay long, but just I have to have something to say about the recent contract signed by Senelec, between Senelec and NAWEC. Let me first to say good afternoon. It's me, Suleiman Ben Sware, coming back on Facebook Live. And today is April 1st, April Fool's Day, Friday, April Fool's Day. And the time is just gone probably some minutes to 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. And I first have to clarify this. I am a true believer, and I wish and I'll promote interregional trade. I will promote bilateral trade agreements and trade between African nations. I think that's the future, and that's what we should do. I have I've shared this many times, and especially during this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, to say that one of the things that we have to do is to integrate our development within African states. We need to trade among ourselves. We need to plan considering the strengths and weaknesses between countries. So that we can attain at least as food self-sufficiency, and then to make sure we have sustainable development. Saying that we are still sovereign nations, and in business there's something called interest, and in sovereign nations there's something called national interest, and we should, regardless of what close links we have with another nation, we should always think of our national interest first, because when they deal with us, they think of their national interest. And coming to energy independence is part of national security. Let me emphasize, energy independence is part of national security. But I'm not here to blame Senegal. I'm not blaming Senegal at all. As I said, I'm not condemning any form of bilateral or regional trade. I am not condemning that. I am just calling out and asking Gambians to think about this. And I know it have been raised in many quarters. And at times, people that raise this issue probably fail to articulate it well. And it might come across as being xenophobic or being anti-Senegalese or being anti-anything. I think at times they do that. But I think there's a genuine need to be critical and to question what is going on across the board as a sovereign nation. Before we get to the main topic, we have realized that we are depending too much onto Senegal. Due to what? Incompetency and corruption. We have to admit that. It's not a fault of Senegal. Senegal is not making us do it. We are doing it ourselves. We have to take that responsibility by electing a government or maintaining a government that do as they wish, prioritizing their personal interests, dividing the nation in order to continue to control us, appointing people who are incompetent, regardless of the impact on society or the people. Now that's our responsibility. That's why we are having this conversation, to try to bring this awareness for Gambians, for us to put our differences and not only, or perceived differences for that matter, because most of these differences are perceived, because of we are buying into the strategy that this government used or previous government have used by dividing us. Let us concentrate on hold this government to account and hold ourselves to account, saying that we rely on Senegal for our security. We rely on Senegal for even our basic food need now. in form of horticulture. Now we import our horticulture mainly from Senegal. We rely on Senegal for telecoms. The backup now, it seems that the backup is only based on Senegal's telecoms. We rely on Senegal on most of our artisans' needs. We don't try to develop our skill base on the youths and to ensure that we can do things for ourselves. We rely on Senegal and other West African citizens for most of the commercial activities that happens in the country. We seem to, as a government, as people, we don't have a strategy to develop our people, our youths, in order, to support them, to promote them, in order for them to have control or to have a share in the entrepreneurship side of our country. Now, in all that note, now we are talking about energy. And I said this few months ago, that the entire energy sector would rely on Senegal. For the reasons, again, I'm not blaming Senegal, reasons of incompetence and reason for, the other reason is corruption. We have seen this corruption in this government, and I have been raising this point, many people have been raising this point, and people will ignore. And I realized just after the election, there was a hashtag to say, the hashtag was what? We move. I hope that hashtag, I've not seen that hashtag anymore, but I think the people that started the hashtag will realize that this case was not about against any political party or should be against any Gambian, but this is about Gambia itself. Holding Adam Barrow accountable is about holding Gambia accountable and to make sure things work. Now, you see, sovereign nations have their interests and they will push for their national interests. And that's why we should push our national interests. But the incompetence of Adam Barrow and his government and the corruption of Adam Barrow and his government just make sure Senegal have everything they want, the way they want it. I don't have time to go to history to explain how many areas that Gambia have resisted from the time of independence to now, in not allowing Senegal to dominate us in many aspects. In fact, there was a time in the First Republic we were at the forefront. We dominated trade in West Africa and other things. Re-export trade was our second GDP earner, as a country, and tourism too. But we have seen how tourism even has been damaged, and Senegal is benefiting from that tourism. I give you an example: the wildlife park built in Senegal, just across the border from Gambia, was actually brought to the Gambia first during Yaya Jammeh, but the corruption of Yaya Jammeh and his dictatorship ensured that project did not materialize in the Gambia. But that project was meant for Gambia. But now what did they do? They just went across the border of North Bank and put it there because they were tapping into the tourists in the Gambia. Now we see this government came and completely broke down Julbru. They did it deliberately. And some of my ignorant brothers and sisters saying, oh yeah, because we are Islamic country, that's a lie. Now we are importing the same Julbru from Senegal. We importing even alcohol, we don't know where it originated from Guinea-Bissau and other countries. We are importing them. Now, Julbru was not about alcohol only, but it was a beverage. This thing, and again, it was meant to help to give an enabling environment for hotel expansion. And again, whether we agree or not on that promotion, but it's better than importing it. Now we lose control over that. Jobs and other economic benefits have gone to Senegal, and this was done deliberately by the government by overtaxing. A form of taxation that have never been seen anywhere in the world, deliberately for the company to be relocated to Senegal. We've seen that. Now, who is to say that Adama Barrow is not facilitating this? Because for him, Macky Sall is his protector. For him, Macky Sall is the guarantor of a government. And let me make it clear. There's no individual, or other country that can guarantee the security of another country. They can help in that process. But what guarantees the security of the country is where social justice, human rights, and prosperity prevails. In the failure of that, I'll tell you, no other superpower can protect you. Now, let's come to this energy thing. We have seen this corruption in this government. When car power, let's start with car power. They brought in car power. Car power was meant to be a stopgap for a short, for a short period to help us regulate the industry or or recover from whatever what we inherited in order to move forward. But you know, the minute car power came on the back of a big corruption. Adama Barrow, with then Alaji Conte, they went on to draft this car power contract. Alaji Conte become the agent or whatever you call them, and they took kickbacks and they draw out a contract that favor car power, and Gambia have been paying since then. When Alaji Conte fell out with Barrow and joined the UDP, what Barrow did was to ensure and ask car power that Alaji Conte, sorry, not Barrow, Alaji Conte have to be kicked out of that agency. And Alaji Conte was kicked off of this agency, and a gentleman called something Sima. That gentleman Sima was given, and then that gentleman Sima was someone found wanting at Social Security Housing Corporation. He resigned before he was prosecuted, and because of Adama Barrow interfered with that prosecution, they appointed that Sima as his trade ambassador or whatever ambassador it is, goodwill ambassador. What happened is that case did not proceed. Now that Sima is sitting as an agent or whatever they call them for car power. And now who is benefiting from car power again is Barrow and his cabal. The Gambian people are paying so much of millions for something that is not a final, should not be a final solution, but it has become a fixed solution for Gambia. It's going to 5 years now to 6 years, which was supposed to be a 2-year contract in order for us to recover. We have not recovered. Then, as I put my question here, did Adama Barrow and Nawek just admit that they cannot supply, they cannot deliver independent energy to the Gambian people? And car power is one. 2, Nawek problems are due to incompetency and corruption. And the incompetency is by the management. I'm not saying the entire people, I'm not saying everyone in Nawek is incompetent, but the management is incompetent. Take it what you can see from the Nani does not have what it takes, regardless of how long it's been there. That's a proof that he's not competent. I mean, he doesn't have what it takes, and he is corrupt, and people around him are most of the people around him are corrupt. But Nani is not the problem of Nawek. Adama Barrow is the problem of Nawek, just as Yaya Jammeh was part of Nawek. Adama Barrow is benefiting from the petroleum supplies to Nawek. That's why now we have Ababakar Jawara being one of the main suppliers, and not only Ababakar Jawara, but other people associated to Adama Barrow to be the main suppliers of Nawek. I don't have time to go into details, but I'll tell you that everything they supply to Nawek, either the quantity is not what they declared, what they have been paid for, and the quality is not what been paid for. And this have consequences. Because of one, if the quantity they paid for are not supplied, then they are shortcutting, they are harming Nawek economically. The quality, if the quality prescribed is not what has been delivered to Nawek, means that they are harming Nawek because the engines of Nawek will be harmed. The duty waivers, there are duty waiver imports on the name of Nawek, which are benefiting people associated to Adama Barrow again. And all this is contributing to economic loss for Nawek. And the incompetency continued with Nawek, and this is where we are with Nawek. Now, if Nawek failed to deliver, it's due to incompetency and corruption. From the board of directors to the line minister, the energy minister, to Barrow, all they do is to cut things in a way that they get their kickbacks and maintain themselves, just as they do in any other sector. We have seen the case of Gam Petroleum. and still not resolved and will never be resolved. And I said there's no case that will be resolved in that country because of Adama Barrow would be held responsible if that case is resolved. Just as the fisheries case, we have seen it. Just as the passport case, our Navi Sina is not going to go anywhere. Now, let's come back to Navi. Now, Senelec signed a contract for Nutbank, rural electrification, and that was meant to be a stopgap as well, a temporal measure. Now, that have become a fixed measure. Now, Senelec have signed a contract for electrification supply for energy supplies to Basse, and now the latest one is to Birkama, and Birkama is part of the Greater Banjul area. Now, where else are they not supplying? You see, this is not about being conspirators of anything, but I'll tell you, there's many ways you achieve these things. Because of Barrow is doing it without even help from Senegal. It's by being corrupt and allowed to be corrupt, by being incompetent and allowing incompetent people to run the industries. Now they are having what they want. But another way too, Senegal can use other measures to ensure that Gambia would not be energy independent. But that again is about national security. I'm not going to go through that. That's for national security agencies to look into and government to look into. But Senegal might not even need to do anything because of Barrow will be doing it for them and due to corruption and incompetency. Now, the one point that I want Gambians to realize here is, as I said, I'm not against us buying energy from somewhere else. But on what basis? Is if it's cheaper? But what sort of contract are we signing? What guarantees do we have? I mean, for national security, that have to be considered. What are the long-term implications? Can we do it more prudently? Can we not generate and supply? I mean, all these things need to be considered. What sort of contract are we signing? Are we working towards, is it a short-term measure? Is it a long-term measure? All these things need to be controlled. But that transparency needs to be brought to the people so that people can be sure of what is happening. But knowing this government, transparency would not, because of everything would done corruptly. Secondly is, now we have to ask Nawet to tell us, what's their strategy actually? What's their strategy here? It seems they don't have a strategy. I mean, the last time we know, they commissioned new generating capacity in Birkama. What happened with the generating capacity? What's happened with the solar plant they're talking about building in Combo? You see, if we're not careful by depending on Senelec, these projects might not be successful for other reasons. I will say this. Senegal or Senelec can have an interest to make sure these projects will not be successful. How can they do that? I tell you, there are many ways that they can do that. As I said, by now, they don't even need to do anything. Barrow is doing it for them. But if they choose to, because if we start building on a network, building on a system, it will become so lucrative for Senelec that, because most of these projects is the initial capital. This initial capital put in. Once you invest that, I mean, it's just rolling into the profits. Now, what is NAWEC's strategy here? What are you going to do? Why the power plant? Let us tell us. You see, people should be asking this question. They assured us that when the power plants start pumping out energy distributions, everything will be okay. But we don't see any improvement. Now they're talking about the solar plant. Again, let's remember we have an ONVG project. The ONVG project, which is a regional integration of energy supplies, where Gambia and Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Conakry are part of, which we welcome. But now we've been told this government went on to prioritize to build the transmission before the generating capacity was ready. Why were they in a rush? Is it political to make Gambians believe that the project is here? They went, listen to this again, let me say this. The Gambia government prioritized to take loans and whatever and to move forward to build the transmission capacity for a project that was not ready. for the generating capacity in Sangulu. I forgot the dam in Conakry and the dam in Senegal. That should be supplying. Once they start generating, that transmission would come to the Gambia. They went ahead, far ahead. Why did they go far ahead to implement this side of the project when it's not ready to take supplies? This is very suspect. Now we have Senelec piggybacking. Now Senelec is piggybacking on that network. That's why I said we should be very critical. Let us not fall for this emotional, we are all the same. We are a sovereign nation. And business is about interest, and every sovereign nation would forward their national interest first. Now, Senelec is piggybacking on an infrastructure already built for the OMVG. Now, if Senelec develop this to an extent of we now rely on their supplies, what is going to happen when the generating capacity is ready to be pumped into this network? We know it's a grid. It's a grid system. What are we going to? You see where we should be very careful. Now, do we know? That's why I said I don't know. Do we know what is in this contract? Did they factor in the time? What's the timeline? Is it the contract a year, 2 years? Did they factor in the timeline that the pumping of the energy, this thing from the would be coming in? What if Senelec decided to even lower their unit price in order for Gambia not to? I know we probably are committed to certain things. You see, there are many ways. And we are right as citizens to say, what if? We are demanding answers. We are demanding answers. We are not experts, but we are not stupid too. We are not experts, but we can read and write to try to decide. What we need is for the experts to come on, or the people we give mandate to come and tell us, not just to say we signed an energy contract. I know this issue about bread and butter. Gambia will say, oh, regardless. Hence, if we have our energy supplies, regardless. That is, banking away the problem for future generations to deal with. And that would be very irresponsible for us. To keep away the problem for future generations to deal with. That is very irresponsible. We should not be working to pass on problems to future generations. We should do our best to ensure the problems that we face, challenges we face, or problems that we create, we try and deal with them better in order to pass on a country that is less problematic for the future generation. We are taking loans. We are signing onto grants that are not, look, there's no free lunch. I keep on saying that. We are signing onto grants that have implications in how we move on, which hamper our progress. Those grants don't help us. In many cases, strings are tied with those grants in order to open markets or to do other things, or not to do certain things that are to our interest or to forward. This is where we need a critical thinking. And again, as I said, it's not going to be a long video. I'll have to stop it here. But I am not claiming expertise in this area. But I am claiming expertise on national security. I am claiming expertise on national security. And the question I'm asking are based on national security. Probably I know some people will not understand the issue on national security here, but I have a concern. But again, I am touching on certain issues that have been shared because I do seek advice for people. And I made a post this morning. There are certain things, a technician have shared with me to say, this is her worry. She's worried that these things have not been done by NAWEC. What is the report? What studies have been carried out on this? We want to know that. This should be advanced to us. I hope our civil society on the ground, I hope the press would get onto this and find something. But is it a hope or what? But I'm not sure it's going to happen. But Gambia, this is something that we cannot just keep quiet about, and we have to put it out there. And we look forward to what's going to happen. But I'll tell you that the longer this government in place, the worst off we are. And we are moving very fast. The situation, the global crisis we're facing today, this government was never ready to deal with anything. They cannot blame the problems, the global things. No, these are challenges that they should deal with as a government, but they have never prepared for today. Not the COVID, not the conflict somewhere else. These are things that a government should anticipate and ready for what they can do, the little they can do, and to galvanize the people, mobilize the people in order to face the challenges. But if they are living the life they live, they cannot claim to be in it together with us. And the complacency, they are so arrogant now in their corruption and what they do, appoint anyone they wish. And look at the member of parliament that the NPP have produced. Just tell you the disregard, the arrogance that they have, and the kind of parliament they want to put in place. And it's up to Gambians to allow that. But I am saying this: we are going very fast down the slope to social unrest. The price hike and everything else cannot be sustained. It's something have to give. The failure of the security sector reform, the mission creep of economic and other global challenges coming through security, it's not, if it's not dealt with now, we are going to face a big problem very soon from a security angle as well. Having ECOMOG on the ground, it's not a final solution. It's not a fixed solution. It was meant to be temporal, and it's going to give. Something's going to give, sir. And now we're coming onto our sub-22. If we even manage to have a resemblance of stability, this is not sustainable. And Gambia gradually. You see, countries now don't have to lose their sovereignty to war. Some countries lose their sovereignty through what? Their economy, control of their economy. Just as Africa have been lost forever, not ever, but for a long time due to our lack of independence in anything that we do. We rely on other people for everything, and that's where Gambia is going. Thank you, guys. It's just meant to be a short video, and I just want us to be critical and think about this and hold people accountable. Thank you very much.